Hey everybody, I've got the tank all lit up nice and bright here. Just fed it, and I was kind of hoping I'd get to see a little bit of action going on, but I'm honestly beginning to think that we really get the bulk of the action prior to me feeding it. Once I feed it, it seems like everybody gets their little piece of the pie, and then they go find a nice little place to hide and enjoy their snacks. So we don't have a whole lot of action going on now. We got that guy all the way in the back there. There's two in these caves right here. There's another one back there. They're all over the place. I did pull a dead minnow out today. I'm pretty sure it was a Creek Chub. My little white suckerfish, and I have decided that this, in all likelihood, is the white suckerfish, like a lot of people were saying originally. It doesn't have that bony, weird sort of head and that pointy snout that the northern hogsucker has, and I don't believe it is a central stone roller either, which brings us back to the white suckerfish, which is a very common fish in this part of the world, and that again makes it all the more likely that that's exactly what we're looking at. So he's still doing okay, or she, whatever it is, I don't know. I've got a few of them in the tank, actually. I think I have 3 of them in here. This is just the largest one. We can see this crayfish here sort of sifting through the gravel looking for any little tidbits of food. And then down this end of the tank is where the real concentration of crayfish is, because this is more like their habitat. A lot of smaller stones with lots of little rocks and crevices. As long as there's enough food to go around, and plenty of hiding places, you can keep a fair amount of crayfish in the tank. I think the real issue happens with the crayfish when one sloughs, and then suddenly they're soft meat and everybody goes looking for them, and one by one, every time one sloughs, there's one less crayfish in the tank, and eventually you end up, there can be only one. And that's why you end up with one big fat crayfish in the end of your in your tank at the end of the season. So the real big exciting news in here today is that I got in there and I was able to get that sunfish out. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's not been swimming around in there because it's no longer in there. It was a spur of the moment thing. I didn't bother to shoot any video of it. I was just able to capture it and get it out of there shortly before I rolled out the door. Was able to get it safely relocated, and that's really the point of this update, is that the sunfish is no longer in here. So that was the last of the aggressive fish that were in this tank, and I think now the next step is probably going to be going down to the bait and tackle shop that I got those golden shiners from last year, and hoping that they've got more. From what I understand, the golden shiner is a really, really common bait shiner that is commonly bred for the purposes of selling to bait and tackle shops. And when I bought them, I didn't know what they were. I just went in. It's the tackle shop I've been going into since I was a teenager. It's been there probably since the 60s. And not that I was a teenager back then, but the shop's been there forever. And ever since I was a teenager, back in the 80s, they've had the same shiners. When you go in there and you buy a dozen shiners, these are the fish I've gotten. I've always gotten those kinds of fish from this particular shop. So I'm assuming when I go in there next time I get down that way, because it is a pretty good drive, next time I'm down that way and I've got my bait bucket and air stone and everything, I'm going to stop in and I'm going to get a dozen shiners, but I'm going to have a look at them first. And I fully suspect they're going to simply be a dozen shiners like I always get every time I go there. If that's the case, then it's a pretty good likelihood that we will once again have some more golden shiners. And those actually get about a foot. So they do get really big for minnows. We'll just have to play that one by ear as time goes on. I don't know how long they'll be in the tank. Whether they'll have any kind of opportunity to get anywhere near that size. But we can get them in there for now, and we'll get back to having an interesting tank with some schooling fish in it. On top of the ones we already have, some sort of larger, more impressive schooling fish. So I can definitely get the tank stocked up with native, or at least pseudo-native fish, native enough fish, that we can have a pretty interesting tank again. It'll be fun to look at. And then, of course, with the activity with these crayfish, you know, they're the ones that steal the show. Whenever I'm looking at this tank, the fish swimming around are interesting enough, but they're just sort of mobile activity, whereas the crayfish are actually the points of interest in this tank. To me, anyway. I love crayfish. I'm absolutely fascinated by these little things. They're cool little animals. They're really, really easy to take care of. I always recommend them to people. If you can get yourself a crayfish, you should. Great little animals. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and call it good. Don't forget to check out my Patreon channel. I haven't been hyping that too much lately. I've been kind of waiting to let everybody sort of, you know, decide whether they want to go check that out or not on their own without me pushing it every time I shoot a YouTube video here. But I am going to push it from time to time when I shoot these YouTube videos here, because I'm enjoying my experience over on Patreon. I've been shooting all kinds of videos and behind the scenes stuff, and you get access to all that over there. The default donation is $1 a month. You can add more than that if you'd like, but the default setting is $1 a month, and that gets you early access to all my YouTube videos. I put them over there on Patreon for a couple of days before they go public, and then they go out on my YouTube channel for all the world to see. I also do private stuff over there that's just for my patrons on the Patreon channel, and I also do public stuff over there. You can follow me even if you don't want to sign up and be a patron. The kinds of stuff I post over there is very similar to what I post on my Google Plus page. If you're familiar with that, I post photos and GIFs and little knickknacks like that. It's always good stuff. So if you want to just follow me over there, you can follow me on Patreon. I will certainly add a link below, and I'm sure by now I've already put a card up for you to just click on that, and that'll take you right over to my Patreon page. And again, the default donation to become a member or join or sign up or whatever you want to say, I'm not quite sure how I'm supposed to say that, to become a patron, I should say. I guess that's the proper way of saying it. To become a patron, the minimum is $1 a month. And then again, you can change that if you want. But $1 a month's not a bad deal for all that good stuff. So go check it out. Tell me what you think. Thanks for watching this one, and don't forget to subscribe here to my YouTube channel as well, free of charge, of course. And don't forget, this one is my native tank, and hopefully we'll be getting some new fish in here and some good update videos coming up on this one real soon. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you real soon.